Welcome back everyone, it's Charlie. This is going to be my new Thor 4 Love and Thunder video. They're getting ready to start filming the movie, the cast has all started showing up, so we'll break everything down, all the Easter eggs, and all the crossover with other big Avengers characters and Marvel Phase 4 movies. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. There's a bunch of big stuff coming up. Even Wandavision episodes later this year will inform some of the stuff that's happening during Thor 4. We'll do a new Amazon giveaway. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and let me know which other big Easter eggs you want to see during Thor 4. I know everyone's asking for Beta Ray Bill. They've been talking about him for a long time now, so it's just a matter of time before we see him show up. But number 5, recently you probably saw Chris Hemsworth, Christian Bale, the rest of the cast of the Thor 4 movie showing up in Australia the past few weeks. They've been doing pre-production for a while. Some of the actors have been down there longer. But the cast has been talking about the story, there's a bunch of Easter eggs, and because of what we know about the other movies in the Marvel Disney Plus series plots, we now know how some of the movies are going to be connected and how the story will influence what's going on during Thor 4. This is them just posting, joking about doing the first read-through of the script with Taika Waititi taking a nap in the middle of the yard there. That's just a joke about his supposed legendary ability to take a nap anywhere at any time under any circumstance. Just because when you direct movies this big, you typically don't sleep for 5 months straight just because everything's so non-stop. But the movie did get delayed because of the virus. Now it's coming out February 2022. Originally it was going to come out November 2021 because all the Thor movies have come out in November. So not a really huge delay. The Eternals movie took its spot. And yes, for those of you who have asked, because the Eternals in the MCU are thousands of years old, yes, Odin did know about them. Thor also knows about them. It's just that in present day, for pretty much what we've seen the history of the MCU movies so far, going back to the first Iron Man film, even Captain Marvel in the 90s, they've been relatively dormant, not knowing about their powers, just living as normal humans amongst them. We'll probably get a trailer video for the Eternals movie when they get ready to release the Black Widow movie, and that'll tease some of their history like they've been living among us this entire time. But because Thor 4 is the next movie right after the Eternals movie, yeah, there'll be some connective tissue, maybe post-credit scene in the Eternals movie for that. Just playing on the idea that they both have these ancient histories, and the Asgardians and the Eternals go way back to the dawn of civilization. Asgardians as a race are a little bit older than the Eternals though, at least in the MCU. In the comics, it's a little bit different. Number 4, Tessa Thompson was the one who actually confirmed that Christian Bale would be their main villain. There was a question for a while as whether or not it was going to happen. He's being described as an intergalactic villain, so he's not someone from Earth, and the most popular theories are that he's some combination of Gore the God Butcher and Mangog, both butchers of gods. The idea just being, after Avengers Endgame, Thor has Stormbreaker. He's like the most powerful version of Thor he's ever been, so who could threaten a legit god of the MCU but a butcher of gods? Gore is just a much more complex, interesting character, and also if we're talking about big comic book Easter eggs from the Thor comics, Jason Aaron created the Gore character. He also created the major comic book storyline for the Jane Foster Thor that they're using for the big twist of the movie. Number 3, the whole Jane Foster Thor announcement from Comic-Con last year created a lot of confusion. So here's the thing, Chris Hemsworth recently said that he's going to do more Marvel movies as Thor, as you know him, for the foreseeable future, through Avengers 5, whenever that movie winds up happening, just because so many of the Marvel movies have been delayed. Jane Foster Thor isn't intended to replace Thor, it's just them doing the big twist with Odin's enchantment. Whosoever holds this hammer, if they be worthy, shall possess the power of Thor, like when Captain America was wielding Mjolnir fighting Thanos. For that brief period, he was wielding the power of Thor himself, even though they've been kind of weird with the way they explain Thor's power. Like, you technically use the hammer to channel Thor's power, the hammer itself doesn't contain the power of Thor. Like, the power was within Thor the whole time. That was what the whole joke about the god of hammers was from Odin in Thor Ragnarok. So it's really like Odin created a spell that allows Thor to share his power with other people. And it sounds like, at least for now, the plan is the Jane Foster Thor will just be a thing for this one movie, and then after that she'll just go back to being regular Jane Foster, and Chris Hemsworth Thor will continue to be regular Thor. And bringing it back around to Wandavision, the Darcy character, who is sort of like an assistant to Jane Foster's Thor, is actually going to be working in the Wandavision series. They didn't say what she'd be doing, but I'm assuming she's connected to Nick Fury in the SWORD agency. Natalie Portman also mentioned the cancer storyline from the comics, so it sounds like they're doing a version of that too, albeit somewhat diluted. In the Mighty Thor comic run, when she was wielding the hammer, she had been suffering from a late stage 4 cancer and was basically on her deathbed. but every time she activated Thor's powers by summoning the hammer, the energy that she channeled was so great that it actually burned through her life force even faster, so it actually killed her a little bit each time she wielded the hammer, but she kind of wound up getting addicted to the thrill of being Thor, like you do, so she just kept on doing it and doing it. So number 2, where does that hammer come from? Because the main MCU version of Mjolnir was destroyed by Hela back during Ragnarok. Every time I talk about this, there's always some confusion in the comments. Notice that Captain America takes Thor's hammer that he had stolen from the events of Thor the Dark World when he takes the Infinity Stones back. So he's taking Thor's hammer back to where they took it from originally. So by the time they get to the Asgardians of the Galaxy scene, there is now no more Mjolnir in the main MCU anymore. Also remember that MCU Thor is still worthy, so even if there had a Mjolnir that still existed, he'd be able to continue dual wielding just fine for the added attack bonus. And Stormbreaker is supposed to be way more powerful than Mjolnir, at least within the MCU. Some people have wondered if Thor is just going to have the dwarves reforge the broken pieces of Mjolnir because they made the first version of the hammer, why couldn't they do it again? But I think it'd be more interesting, especially if all the Marvel Phase 4 movies are rolling hard on the multiverse twist, that it would be way more interesting to have Jane Foster Thor wield a version of Mjolnir from the multiverse. That also helps explain the Loki twist. So for those of you that were wondering, Taika Waititi confirmed that Tom Hiddleston would be in the movie as Loki. He's like, we're not going to make a Thor movie without Loki, that'd be weird. He didn't specify which version of Loki it would be, but because all the Disney Plus series are crossing over with the movies, it's an easy prediction to make that it would be the Loki from Avengers Endgame who escaped, created the new timeline with the Tesseract, and is getting his own Disney Plus series next spring. It's going to be a big time travel series with a bunch of time travel villains. The Time Variance Authority captures him, forces him to work for them. They're kind of like the Time Cops or the Time Lords of the MCU. But because it's a Loki from the events of the original Avengers movie, he has none of the memories of original Loki after this. So he had none of that character development, none of those experiences with Thor, so he's going to be a completely different version of the character.
I'm gonna burn this place to the ground.
Number 1, so early theory, Christian Bale's villain just presents a challenge so overwhelming that one Thor, even with Stormbreaker, isn't enough to stop him. He needs 2 Thors. That's where you get to the Jane Foster Thor twist. And then Loki arrives from the multiverse with another version of Mjolnir in tow, and that's where you get her hammer. And if we're talking about multiverse here, I know a lot of you have asked about that scene of Loki wielding Mjolnir, because that's actually a deleted scene from Thor the Dark World. He's just imagining himself wielding it. They can actually do a twist like that on the Loki series if it's going to be a big multiverse show. They're actually going to be doing multiple versions of Loki from the comics on that. They're doing Kid Loki, they're doing a version of female Loki, maybe also a version of older Loki, but they'll explain that when we get to those episodes. It's going to be a while before we see a trailer for that though. The whole thing with the Guardians of the Galaxy though, per Vin Diesel, is that they'll just cameo in Thor 4, then Thor's going to cameo in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. But it's mostly supposed to be minor cameos for continuity, just to address what Thor's been doing with them since Avengers Endgame, and then they'll probably have a tag scene setting up Guardians 3, the same way that Thor was in Doctor Strange's post-credit scene. Then they just did a longer version of that scene during Thor Ragnarok.
I have been falling for 30 minutes!
There's going to be a ton of Avengers crossover happening in Marvel Phase 4 movies. I just did a video about Doctor Strange showing up in Spider-Man 3. But really important reminder, Wandavision is actually the first place where we'll see all that get set up. That's going to set off the big multiverse level chaos twist that's going to inform a lot of the plots of the Marvel Phase 4 movies. Scarlet Witch is going to cause a whole bunch of chaos, and they're going to feel the repercussions of that in all the different movies. So everyone, let me know in the comments, what are you most hyped up for in Thor 4? Post all your theories in the comments. And what's going to happen is tomorrow, my Mandalorian Season 2 Episode 1 video is going to post. Make sure you have alerts enabled for my channel so you don't miss any of those episodes. All the WandaVision episodes are supposed to be released after the Mandalorian Season 2 episodes. While you wait for everything, click here to watch Tom Holland hilariously try to spoil Spider-Man 3, and click here for that brand new Mandalorian Season 2 trailer video. Thank you so much for watching. Everyone stay safe. This is The Way.